Hello, and welcome to this edition of Profession in Focus. I'm Catherine Ide, Managing Director of Professional Practice and Member Services at the Center for Audit Quality. I'm pleased to have with me today Jackie Daylor, who is the National Managing Partner for Audit Quality and Professional Practice at KPMG. Welcome.
Thanks, Catherine.
We're so glad to have you here.
Glad to be with you today.
So today we're going to talk about the new auditor's report. So implementation is underway, and the new PCAOB standard arguably has the biggest changes in decades. The most significant of that is going to be the critical audit matters, or CAMs as they're known, and those are going to be coming into effect in the next year. So I've heard that this is going to be a great opportunity for the auditing profession. What's your perspective on that statement?
Catherine, I think it's a great opportunity for the profession, as you note, and the biggest change that we've had in the last 70 years. So we view it as an opportunity for better communication with investors. And that's stated in the standard, the release itself, that this is an opportunity for auditors to provide information to both investors and other users of the financial statements. So we're looking forward to that opportunity to provide information through the critical audit matters. And maybe the one word of caution is that everyone will have to better understand what a critical audit matter is to make it an effective communication.
So what impact do you think it will have on the actual audit process?
The critical audit matters should not impact the audit procedures done around the matter itself. But certainly the senior members of the engagement team will have to be engaged in a dialogue with management and the audit committee about what's going to be reported regarding the critical audit matters. They also have to go through a process to discern which items are critical audit matters, and that will be important to go through that methodical process, and there's information that will help us discern which things are critical audit matters. And then, of course, we need to make sure that for matters that aren't determined to be critical audit matters, that we document those appropriately.
Right. So the standard defines critical audit matters as matters arising from the audit and identifies certain criteria that elevate those matters to critical audit matters. And just for a quick recap for our viewers, those are matters that arise from the audit, first of all.
Right.
And then they are matters that are communicated or required to be communicated to the audit committee. And those matters that relate to accounts or disclosures that are material to the financial statements, a key word there. And then finally, those matters that are especially challenging, subjective, or require complex auditor judgments.
Right.
So let our viewers know kind of what they can expect. What types of matters would you anticipate rising to the level of a critical audit matter?
Yeah, so if you go back to what you just said about critical audit matters, it's really important to go through that process to think through what's going to be a critical audit matter. And the standard gives us good guidance around that in terms of challenging, subjective, complex, some factors to be considered, but also there may be some unique factors to that particular audit engagement that would play into that determination of what's a critical audit matter. And the fact that it talks about relating to accounts or disclosures that are material to the financial statements may indicate that a matter in and of itself may not be material. So it's going to be important to work through that process and make sure that the audit is really thought of carefully, and those matters that are going through that process are really determined in accordance with the way it's laid out in the standard. But if I was going to project a little bit about what might be a critical audit matter, I mean, certainly hard to value investments could fall into that category, again, depending on the circumstances in that audit engagement. Impairment or potential impairment of goodwill and intangibles. Today's world of tax reform, uncertain tax positions could be a critical audit matter. And then, of course, things like going concern considerations could also be in that bucket of critical audit matters.
And how do you think investors will benefit from this information in the auditor's report?
I think the benefit to investors is additional information about those things in the audit that were more challenging, subjective, complex, and having that information, understanding the expectation around what is a critical audit matter, having that information can help investors make better judgments.
Yeah. Now, you mentioned audit committees a little bit earlier, and of course they're yet again on the front lines of the implementation. And so what are some keys to success for audit committees as they navigate this change in the auditor's report?
Boy, in anything like this, communication is the most important thing that can happen. And so early engagement between the auditor, the audit committee, and management around the critical audit matters, not only which matters, but what's going to be in the auditor's report. And I know the CAQ issued a publication in December of 2017 that had some helpful questions in it. But I think one thing to keep in mind is that critical audit matters, some of them you could probably talk about early in the audit, just from history that that's going to be a critical audit matter. Right. And others may come up late in the process just on the development of facts during the audit. So there'll be a lot of communication required between those three parties.
Yep. Well, thanks so much, Jackie, for those helpful insights on the auditor's reporting model. And thanks to you, viewers, for joining us for Profession in Focus.